Vernacular can be difficult to define, as it does not have to fit into speech patterns or language. In order to define something as vernacular, we can use three main rules. Number 1, it is informal. Number 2, it is spatially bound. And finally, vernacular is learned through interactions of day-to-day life. The title of our podcast, Vernacular, is a mix of the words Purdue and vernacular because we are analyzing what happens when they mix together and how students become themselves in the new environment that Purdue has to offer. Our subtitle, The Sister, the Major, and the Experience, come from the three reasons that our main interviewees came to Purdue. All these reasons being different and unique, which factor into each student's personal vernacular and shape their experience here at Purdue. While many things can fit into the vernacular category, there is one that we found extremely interesting. Over the past 8 weeks at college, we have been exploring new experiences, meeting people from all different backgrounds, and overall trying to make our own life in this unfamiliar setting. In order to find comfort, many people turn to their new rooms, filling them with reminders of home. These reminders are each person's vernacular. We decorate our most private spaces in a way that reflects our deepest comforts, and how we can decorate can show our own personal vernacular. We are doing a story about exploring how much of a person's culture they retain when moving somewhere new, like a college dorm, and what's interesting about it is that people from different cultures tend to decorate differently as they try to retain their culture and reflect upon home in their new living space. To maximize our understanding of these differences and how students choose to express themselves, we'll interview 4 different students from different backgrounds. First, we'll interview an in-state student, Lindsay Bowers, who lives just an hour south of campus and grew up surrounded by many Hoosier traditions. Second, we'll interview 2 out-of-state students who also happen to be roommates, Noelle Hannock and Hannah Beck from New Jersey, where they were surrounded by East Coast traditions and experiences for the past 18 years. Lastly, we'll interview an international student, Bianca Caminada, who grew up in São Paulo, Brazil, with many different cultural experiences than those students who grew up closer to Purdue. All 4 of these students come from different backgrounds and experiences, but have all come together as one student body at Purdue. First, meet Lindsay, a communications major from Zionsville, Indiana. Her dorm contains reminders of home, with her decorations imitating her bedroom from her hometown. She brought the big ideas of her home decoration to her dorm, putting her own familiarities into the otherwise dull room. One of her favorite holidays, Halloween, is also represented as it brings the comfort and memories of her life back in Zionsville. Lindsay is also very close with her family, and this is made apparent through the many family pictures by both her bed and her desk. The way she decorates is informal, as no one taught her how to decorate her dorm, is spatially bound as it contains reminders of her hometown, are not universal, and is brought to life through her connections to what she holds close. Tying back to the title of our podcast, Lindsay grew up surrounded by parents that were IU fans, but chose Purdue because of her older sister who came to Purdue. Here is a quick video of what Lindsay's dorm room looks like. Moving on to out-of-state, Noelle and her roommate Hannah, an accounting and landscape architecture major respectively, are from the Garden State of New Jersey. While they're both from the same state, there are key differences in the way they express themselves in their dorm. Hannah finds comfort in the agricultural side of things, as she has been raised in the 4-H lifestyle. In her side of the dorm, one can find various plants, like potatoes or peppers, and pictures of the rabbits she raised back home. She also has an interest in golf and dance, showing a different side of her through athletics. This contrasts against Noelle's side of the dorm, where there are plants, but more of the house variety. Hannah's connection to her more rural life is reflected in her living space and is a clear difference between her and Noelle's vernacular. Tying back to the title of our podcast, Hannah chose Purdue for her major, landscape architecture, which is unique to her, but also ties her to home and back to 4-H while still being here at Purdue. Here's a quick video of Noelle and Hannah's dorm. Finally, our last interviewee, Bianca, is from drastically further than all of our other subjects. Bianca is a physics major and senior from São Paulo, Brazil, and while she has been in Indiana for several years now, she still has a deep connection and roots to her hometown. In her apartment, she keeps several reminders of home, including a large map of her home city. Additionally, she has several bookshelves that are similar to her ones at home and keeps her bed near the window, which reflects her bedroom, very similar in São Paulo. All these specific additions to her room represent her original vernacular, how she keeps her culture and livelihood present in her everyday life. Tying back to her title, Bianca chose Purdue for the experience. Being from out of the country, she always saw examples of the classic college experience here in the United States, and always wanted that big school football game experience and to go to a Big Ten school. Here's a quick video of Bianca's room. When deciding how to structure our podcast, we decided that the best way to do it would be to start with an introduction and give a brief overview of what vernacular is, similar to what we did in our pitch. We then would lead into the interviews with the 4 students that we have already selected and given a brief background of. In the podcast, we would sit down with the students individually and ask more in-depth questions about themselves and where they're from to dive deeper into why they decorate their dorm the way they do. We would ask questions like, why did you choose to come to Purdue? What are your hobbies and interests? What do you like to do with your friends back home? And is there anything special about their hometown or culture that they hold especially close to their heart? The answers to these questions, along with seeing how they chose to decorate their dorm room, will allow us to more closely examine the vernacular of how students choose to decorate their dorms. When thinking about our podcast, the main questions we wanted to ask was, what is the typical way to decorate a room? And how does the way students decorate their room contribute to their college lifestyle compared to home? In class, we talked about Bauman's definition of vernacular as being informally taught, immediate among a community, and specific to a region. The way that students decorate their dorm or room is according to their needs and their liking. Students move their furniture based on the feel or look of their room in order to achieve their own personal comfort. The way students decorate their dorm is a form of their expression and what they want to share. This behavior is learned through the observation of other people decorating or expressing their vibe in their room. This behavior is also dependent on current trends and styles going on at the time, such as the recent popularity of neon signs, vines, and LED lights in dorms. These decorating habits are learned from those around them and on social media platforms they choose to use. Depending on the background of the student, there's a part of the student's past, interest, or home in their dorm along with an added part of Purdue college culture. When analyzing this contrast, one can see the many ways in which students at Purdue differ but are also brought together through their shared experience of college. This way of decorating a dorm, specifically lofting a bed or storing a dresser and desk furniture, is a result of the small amount of space given to students. This restriction is specific to the community of Purdue students. Lanta's vernacular culture is defined by the way in which our behaviors and habits and lifestyles choices are informally taught and specific to a region. The food students choose to keep in their dorm can be characterized by the food they had at home. Additionally, the values of making their bed or keeping the room organized are custom passed by family expectations and certain ethics. These vernacular ways of thinking influence the everyday college habits of Purdue students. Now, to answer the big question I know you are all asking, how do dorm rooms relate to the vernacular? Dorm rooms are relevant to the vernacular because they encapsulate a person's background and give us insight into how they would act in their most natural and informal state. Dorms also give us insight into how people adapt to new environments and how much of the vernacular from their new environment they incorporate into their lives, compared to the vernacular of where they originally came from. Looking through the different rooms allows us to see how people's vernacular is shown through their decoration, as well as how they adapt to the vernacular of Purdue. This podcast about the vernacular of how students choose to decorate their dorm rooms would be an opportunity for those unfamiliar with the subject to learn even more.